People versus James L. Ricks Jr. Record should reflect that Mr. Ricks is here pro se, having been qualified as such previously. Mr. McRoberts is here representing the people of the state of New York. Mr. Ricks, is there any legal reason why sentence cannot be imposed?
No, Your Honor.
And is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. First, to my beautifully involved co-defendants, I'd like to thank you for getting me to this point. I would like to thank you, Judge Yokel. I'm sorry, Judge Gideon. Judge Yokel, that's your impression on me. Excuse me?
What he did.
Oh, you definitely, Your Honor. Definitely. First, I'm very disturbed that a great woman was just incarcerated for being a little emotional about a very emotional issue. I think that you made a serious mistake sending Ellen Brady to jail. I understand she requested it. I feel as though she got emotional and was just channeling Gandhi and asked for the maximum sentence. She has a very large family that she's responsible for. And on that particular decision, I know you said you spent a lot of sleepless nights. I hope you sleep well tonight. I know that I will. I know that she will. She knows she did the right thing. I am entirely convinced I did because I'm standing here pro se, which is very much out of my comfort zone. But I felt as though it was something that was entirely necessary for me to do to explain exactly why I did what I did. And I'm definitely very proud of it. I happened to be last night at an anti-fracking meeting, and I said a few things, and I forgot one thing that was very important, but it's just as important here. And it was from when we were here the last time. Ramsey Clark was here and he spoke. Fortunately, I was when I went to the house that I was spending the night in Syracuse, he was there, and we had dinner. And the question came up, what do you do when there's a troubling decision and there's pros and cons on both sides? And he said, consider what's best for the children. I think that applies here. We're speaking about international laws and treaties that have been signed that all of a sudden become so muddied. We start to wonder whether or not these treaties have been signed or not when there's some sort of geopolitical interest involved, like oil or strategic position, or the water all of a sudden gets very muddy. I mean, it's easy to check, did we sign these treaties or not? And I say this with the background that on our walk here, as I remind you, it was more than the years I've lived. Very painful miles. We came through the Onondaga Nation. And that made me a question of what are we going to sit here and discuss whether or not we're signatory to these treaties or not? What is our track record in keeping treaties that we know we've signed? That makes me a little apprehensive. I was very encouraged with your demeanor. I liked you a lot until you found us guilty. That I understand, you have your job to do, and there's pressures upon you that I don't even know exactly what they are, and I assume they're the same for Mr. McRoberts. I understand it was a very difficult thing for all of us, and I am absolutely sure that the people I stood with are heroes. They did what they did at great expense and cost to themselves. No offense to anyone else here, but they're all getting paid. And I'm sure some of the officers I heard somebody, not from them, this is hearsay, that they were doing quite well and perhaps may even buy a car with the overtime. So, but I don't want to get lost in that. I want to refer back to Ellen, because I think this is something that concerned me, that I saw her get very upset and make a statement that I'm sure she believes in, but she's torn. You know, she knew that when she left, she has children to take care of. And as I say, I've never met a woman more true and more sincere. I find it difficult, even in the emotion of the time, that you would penalize her for being really emotional. I mean, she looked at the pictures, I could hear it in her voice, and I would hope that you would reconsider at least that. I have written down a few things. They're a little disjointed, but I was reading a statement that said the jury has the power to acquit, and if they do, I'm sure that you do. I know it must have been a wrenching decision. When I first started the walk, I was motivated. I saw a picture of some children that had been blown up by collateral damage, which Ray Kramer so eloquently put. Something that happens repeatedly, it's hard to still call it an accident, especially when you're the aggressor. You're the one that's deciding when these lives are taken, if it's an accident or not. There was a young man named Tariq Aziz that had gotten killed while the trial was going on. And apparently, some gentleman in Langley, Maryland, or Langley, Virginia, cited him, decided that he should be executed, and he was executed. I doubt if he even knew he was ever accused of anything, let alone on trial. And there's something really inherently wrong with that. And as a judge that advocates due process, it's hard for me to reconcile, you know, how you cannot see the injustices that are involved here. I'm just trying to go over my notes. And as I explained to my children, what we did and why I thought it was right, I understood something called the necessity defense, and I explained it to them like this. If you saw somebody across the street and they were being mugged, you know, if you run across the street, you're jaywalking. You can go to the corner and properly cross the street and try to address it, but the person could be hurt, robbed, killed, maimed, whatever. And as I understood it, to lay in that driveway was to bring attention to the fact that there are children, people, innocent people being killed, and even the people that they target, it's illegal for them to kill. It's illegal to kill them. It's not only immoral, which if it wasn't illegal, it would still be wrong. If it was legal, it's wrong. But it is illegal, and I understand it. It baffled me to observe the conversation between you and Ramsey Clark and Mr. McRoberts, that it seems such a shady and cloudy concept to grasp that there's a sequence of treaties that were signed. There were the United Nations Charter, the Nuremberg Accords, the Convention Against Torture. These, as I read it, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, as I read it, we're signatory to these treaties. They take precedence over everything. Clearly, it's not muddy. And if it is, if it's incorrect, this should be stated, because I was under a completely wrong assumption that these treaties that we signed, and it seemed like after coming out of World War II, observing all the devastation and death, this was a time for man to sit down and really think about how we can avoid any kind of disasters like this in the future, and they did. I would like to read something right now about what form we should address these things to. And we maintain that this is a proper form under existing law, especially since customary law is fully legitimate and a binding source of international law. In our world today, contractual statutory law, especially the UN Charter, is not being enforced on powerful nations such as the U.S. There is no form to enforce the laws of peace on powerful nations, for such enforcement would lead to war. This is exactly the form to begin creating customary law to uphold the existing statutory laws. And I have some troubling things for me, because I had no doubt whatsoever that what we did was right. And what happens when you punish people for doing what's right? This is very troubling. I've only been an activist for less than a year, and this is my first trial in this particular venue, and I think I'm off to a wonderful start, a great start. When my grandson is old enough to understand, I cannot wait to explain to him what I've done. I'm tempted to address this court in a manner that appeals to law and morality, but I think that this is why you wrestled and had restless nights, a balance in what you heard and what the statutory laws are. And I forget now what I said while I was, or shortly after I left court the last time, and I have a grandson that I'm kind of responsible for right now. But I can make arrangements. This is not me trying to ease out of the back door here. I can make arrangements for them to be taken care of. If anybody, I would think I deserve to go to jail much more than Ellen, much more than Judy. Danny, I don't know. And I would like to thank you. I thought you've been very understanding and very open. And I've never been in a civil trial before, but I hear that that's very unusual. And I would like to also say that I concur 100% with what Cynthia Banner said. Thought it was extremely eloquent. And I would like to thank Mrs. Teresa Grady for even coming here. A wonderful lady right there. And I'm ready to receive my sentence.
Based upon the equities that have been presented relative to your personal situation, and the fact that you're very sincere about your convictions, sentence and judgment is court concurrently on each of the sentences, but concurrently I'm going to do a 1-year conditional discharge condition with the clerk of this court in duplicate, and then perfect your appeal at county court. You haven't given this motions.
And I would like to just say, I know that I kind of ran over it and I'm out of here now, but please reconsider the sentencing on my co-defendants that are in the Hooskow right now.
There's actually a legal procedure that has to be followed on that.
You can't just right now overturn it?
It's called a 440 motion.
Thank you.